Hey everyone, this is Anna here. I'm gonna wait just a few seconds, see if anybody would join me. I decided to come in here just to show you this mug that I'm working on. And I thought this was a chance to see if anybody has questions about Cuerda Seca, about any of my processes, and I'll try to answer while I work. I don't see anybody yet. So this is the frog I'm working on, the frog mug. Don't know if there is anybody there that is watching. Let me see if I have the chat. Oh, hi, Carice. I always have the chat, I always mess up with the chat. You never know when it's on or off. But I wanted to come in here today and show this mug that I'm working on. This is actually the first Cuerda Seca frog that I make. And it was inspired by this picture here, which when I printed, it didn't show the rest. So it's missing part of his leg right there. Anyways, I've done another frog before, but they were little. And they were like on top of a lily pad, which I like. But this one is much bigger. And so I tried to do the shadows, just like it was in the picture. So, and of course, it's not fired. So I am excited to see how it will look, because I spend a lot of time trying to create the shadows just using a brush and trying to blend in the colors. So first I flood in the areas with stroke and coat. This is right here. These are all the colors that I used. I'm in the process of making a bunch of just different mugs with different birds, and that will be part of my collection, the birds and frogs and lizard collection that's coming up. But also I have some pieces that are going to the gallery as well, to Charlie Cummings Gallery. And that is due in May. So I'll be making some pieces for them. The chat, it's hard to tell when it's on and off. So now I know. And hopefully this is going on YouTube as well. YouTube and Facebook as well. So I'm almost done. And I wanted to show kind of like a trick that I do here with the colors. Let me see. I'm always kind of mindful of where I touch to make sure that it's already dry, the areas that I just painted. So I just painted the tree branch here where he's perched on. So I'll go ahead and paint the leaves here. And I hope I'm close enough that you can see. Let me see. So I always debate on colors, and because these are all tropical plants, you can go a little wild with colors. So I am using, for this one here, I'm using Limelight. And again, these are all stroke and coat glazes. So hopefully you can see. So what I did is, close to the center of the leaf, I used a color called Cutie Pie Coral, which is pretty much what the name is. It's a coral color, kind of medium, not too dark, not too light. But that's what you see here in the center. And then I do some kind of like veins of the leaf. I do it in red as well. Coral color. Yesterday I did a I did a live on my Instagram account just to see if anybody had questions, or see if anybody has tried this, have tried this technique. I'm always adding more videos to my playlist, more Cuerda Seca videos, tutorials, because I find this technique so relaxing and kind of therapeutic, at least for me. That's what I think. And yeah, it is time consuming, but then you're rewarded with, beautiful results. And then the oil that I'm using now I'm really enjoying using that, because there are so many advantages for using that. One of them is that it dries out, so they're not as like the other oil that I use, it never dries. This one dries, so you don't get your hand, as you can see, I can touch it and it won't smear all over my mug, like the other one did. So to me, that's one of the biggest advantages. And also, it resists really well, almost like if it was a wax resist. So those are the two big advantages. And on the downside is that you can't reuse the batch that you make, because it gets kind of gummy and really it dries. I tried saving it on a little jar, a lidded jar, and then I went to reuse it after a few days, and I just couldn't use it because it was just too kind of gummy. And then your brushes, you have to use like a turpentine or paint thinner, because it is an oil. But because it's polymerized oil, it will dry on your brushes, so it's an oil base. So, but for anything, there is always the pros and cons, I guess I would call it. How many layers you put? Oh, how many layers I put in? Just really squirting the paint, the glaze. And you're supposed to make it so it's pretty thick. I don't know if you can tell when I'm using here. Let me see if I can get real close. And the reason why I'm not pushing it real fast is because I'm working on a rounded surface. So if you add too much all at once, the way that we do it on a tile, let's say, so I'm comparing with a flat tile where you can squirt your glaze and the lines, it will stay within the lines. But because this here is a rounded surface, if I squeeze too much glaze into the area, it will eventually kind of roll past your wax resist or whatever you have. Like in my case, I'm using that polymerized oil. It resists up to a point, right? If you put too much and start dripping, it will drip over the line. So, but yeah, I don't go by layers, just like we do, as if you're using a brush. So anyways, that's why I do it very slowly, just because I've had it before where it rolled right over and then I wasn't paying attention. I moved on to another place when I saw there was this big drip going across. I mean, you can clean up, but it's just a pain. So I try to kind of work slowly. And so by the time I'm like, so for example, I'm right here now in this section. This section here is already dry. So then after I'm done with this, then I can move on to another, area. Or you could use like a heat gun maybe, or hair dryer, something just to speed up, the drying. But I'm very patient, so I kind of like working slow. That's my thing. I'm not, in a hurry to make things. I'm definitely not a production potter. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my thing. I work slow, so here I'm just cleaning up. I do it as I go because I can catch it. So I use this as graffito tool from Diamond Core. You can use anything that has like a point, like a needle tool or a toothpick, and then you just scrape off. If you can catch it. Don't worry so much if you don't catch everything, because with my experience is that as it goes through the glaze firing, usually all the spots that sometimes are covered, like, like sometimes it goes over a little bit, like, I don't know if you guys can tell, like maybe here, like I can scrape that off if I see it, if I catch it. When I don't catch it, usually it retracts anyways during the glaze firing, and that's because the oil, it's still there on the surface. So as it heats up, I guess the glaze kind of separates and it goes to where it belongs, I guess. So that's the nice thing about, not being so worried. If you make a mistake, if it goes over the line, chances are it will come out all right, unless you have like a big, like a glob of glaze right over. But usually it turns out better than you think sometimes, if you see like the lines are kind of squiggly or not quite perfect, after it goes through the firing, it just works out, I guess, so here is still wet. I'm gonna wait just a little bit. So you can blend in colors while it's still wet. So if I wanted to, kind of like a watercolor effect, you can add, let's say purple or blues, with your green. But for what I'm doing here, like I blended, I don't know if you can tell, there is purple and blue in here on this part of this is a birds of paradise. And so I wanted to blend in the purple and kind of like a greenish blue teal right here. So what I usually do, I take a brush, this one is dirty. After you flood in the area, you can put, however many colors you want. And while it's still wet, you just go with your brush and start kind of intermixing them. And that gives like a real nice effect. So that's usually how I do my, like here, the flower. I did it over here. I blend in a little bit from dark to light, the flower here. Yeah, I like to blend sometimes. Sometimes I don't want to blend. I want the color to show. So because this is a light green color, so here's what I'm going to do. And I went with this cutie pie coral for the veins of the leaf. You know how the tropical plants sometimes, like I have one and I don't even know the name, but it's green and red, the leaves. So that's kind of what reminds me here. This one is still just a little bit wet right here. So then you can go with the darker color over, and that's gonna show because that's a light color, the green. So you can just, do this. So I'm making just the veins of the leaf look like it's the red. And because it's over, the light color is gonna show. It's gonna show through. Yeah, this is gonna be a very colorful mug. I can't wait. I think what I'm gonna do is, fire just my Cuerda Seca mugs that I've been working on. Because for the firing, you don't need to do any slow cool because these are stroke and coat glazes. They don't require, you know, slow cool. So cone 5 is what I recommend, not going over cone 5 because the colors stay brighter at a lower temperature, and also they stay more stable. Once you go to a cone 6, they will move a little bit more, and sometimes they might go over your lines. So anyways, that's what I recommend is I'm gonna fire them to a cone 5. So my peak temperature is 2175 and no slow cool. And because everything else that I do a slow cool. That's why I'm thinking about doing, I have like 6 mugs now that are all Cuerda Seca. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do just a Cuerda Seca firing, probably tomorrow or tonight. And then I'll do a kiln unloading just for these because I'm too excited to see them. Anyways, once it's all done, I kind of go closely and see if I had made any mistakes. I try to fix it. Like here, the glaze is going a little bit, but again, not going crazy with it, you know. And we'll see the results. So do you guys have any other questions? Are you painting on bisque or greenware? This is bisque. So for Cuerda Seca, I rather do it on bisque. I have done it on greenware, and it does work depending on the clay that you use. So I found the red clay that I use currently. You can do a single firing, which means you do the painting right on greenware, and it goes right to a cone 5. So you skip the cone, 04 for bisque. But just to be safe, I rather do it on bisque. So that's my recommendation. You paint with a brush 3 times. Oh, okay. Do you water down the glaze? Because these are, that's another thing for it to come out, to flow really well from these tiny needles here. I add water and then I shake them really well. That's why they're not as thick as the way they come, as it comes out of the bottle. So I usually add water. I have seen where people use a brush and it's very watered down. Is that how you do it? So again, I only use the brush to blend in colors, or sometimes if I'm doing something real small that I think using the applicator bottles like that won't go through the very edges, I do use like a real fine brush, or I go with a little needle tool to pull the glaze all the way to the edge. Like this is a good example. These little leaves here that I painted. So whenever you go with a smaller detailed drawing like these leaves, when it's bigger, it's a lot easier. But for small detail like these, then it gets a little harder. You have to be a little more creative to pull the glaze to these very fine little edges, Anyways, that's what I do. Yeah, I just use sometimes a toothpick just to pull them, because using the applicator, sometimes it doesn't go all the way there. So But that's all. I'll try to do some more tutorials. I am going to announce my workshops coming up in May. I will have a Cuerda Seca workshop. I'm also teaching altering clay also in May, which is a little bit more advanced for more advanced people who work with ceramics. So, but that's it. Thanks for being here with me, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks.